All right. And 3, 2. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Believe Fantasy Football Show with me, your friendly neighborhood fantasy football analyst, Michael Fabiano, and that guy next to me, the debonair, handsome, legendary king, Bob Harris. What's going on there, Mr. Football Guys?
I just, enjoying the brief respite from the actual day-to-day football grind in the Super Bowl bye week. Watching who's not practicing with great interest, or maybe not. Always enjoyed the bye week injury reports. Like, oh, I'm going to get really excited about this.
Right. Yeah, you're not excited about the Pro Bowl games? It's so ridiculous, man. I don't care if a football player can hit a golf ball or whatever the hell else they do. Doesn't matter to me. Bring back, you remember like back in the day, was it like the ABC Wide World of Sports where they would have like these competitions? Like bring something like that back. Let's have a little fun. I don't care about this stuff that they're doing.
I want to say, there was who was the Patriots running back that was hurt really bad in the beach volleyball
Yeah,
game?
that was Robert Edwards in a game on the the
right.
Well, go play in sand.
Almost lost his damn leg. I mean, this is like a serious thing. I don't know why they even bother doing anything. It's just to reward the players, just pay them their money and give them a vacation. And I don't know. I anything that puts players at risk, I think needlessly is not great for my fantasy fortunes.
Bob, of course, it is Super Bowl time as we've got San Francisco and Kansas City, who will be battling it out in Sin City. Bet Online is your number one source for playoffs, football odds, stats, trends, and lines, all that good stuff with everything from point spreads to hundreds of player performance props. Head to Bet Online today and stay updated on all the action. Bet Online, the game starts here. So since there's really nothing going on this week, Bob and I decided, well, we'll go through some of the coaching hires. And then we looked at the coaching hires and we're like, still nothing really going on. Right? I mean, like Raheem Mostert goes to Atlanta. Zach Robinson's the OC.
Robinson, you look at him,
right?
You look at him as the passing coordinator there last year, and Puka Nacua had great success. So, I mean, at least weapons got used. I'll just say, Raheem Morris, we have a 3-year window into his head coaching career at Tampa Bay. Had 2009, the 30th ranked offense, the 27th ranked defense, 2010, 20th ranked offense, 9th ranked defense, year 3, 27th ranked offense, 32nd ranked defense. It was not with much distinction was that area. He had Josh Freeman at quarterback and Greg Olsen, not known for his high-end work.
Not the tight end / analyst. This is the offensive coordinator.
No, but I do think, Robinson helped oversee, a greatly improved Rams offense last year. Got the most out of Nacua, Matthew Stafford, and Kyron Williams was part of that as well. So, So not for nothing there.
Seattle hires Mike McDonald as their head coach. Can we stop with the McDonald and McDaniels people? Like, there's too many. Like, it's messing me up. Like, we got Mike McDaniel. We got Josh McDaniels, who knows? Maybe he's going to end up back in New England. I have no idea. And now we got Mike McDonald. It's enough already. But we don't know.
Youngest head coach in the NFL. Seattle goes from the oldest head coach in the NFL to the youngest. So
it's true.
C-level change. A great defensive mind. Clearly, Ravens defense has been amazing the last 2 years. Led the league in multiple categories. I think the good news to me is the Baltimore's defense maybe won't be as great, and they'll have to score more points. Anything that puts the onus on Lamar Jackson, that unit, to be more productive is something I can get behind.
I'll tell you this, bro. I ain't ever picking the Ravens to go to the Super Bowl again. No thanks. Not doing it. Lamar can't win the big game. I'm done.
Oh, here we go.
Carolina Panthers hired Dave Canales as their head coach. I mean, it's like, maybe a little bit interesting, right? Because the Buccaneers offense was very fantasy friendly this past season, all the way to Baker Mayfield, who was a top 12 quarterback. But the Panthers have no weapons. The good news is that they have a lot of cap space. Unfortunately, they don't have a first round pick because they got fleeced by the Bears in that trade for Bryce Young last season. But maybe Canales can turn things around. At least the Panthers have some money. Maybe maybe he goes after Mike Evans, which I don't know that I would love from a fantasy perspective, but I'm sure they will be spending some money in the offseason.
Dave Canales cannot pass block, I'm told. I have it on good authority. Sources tell me. So, he and Dan Morgan comes in as a former linebacker, promoted to GM there. I mean, they have a lot of work to do, as you mentioned, adding some playmakers. We'll see if Jonathan Mingo develops beyond just a physical presence down the field without much production. And those things will be key. DJ Chark's free agent, so we'll see if he stays around or moves on. So a lot of questions there, but first and foremost is pass protection and, maximizing. He's there to maximize Bryce Young, right? He's there to turn Bryce Young into, get number 1 pick overall production out of him. And it's been a very low bar. So expecting some improvement seems reasonable. If they can get some pass blocking, expecting high end play, expecting him to turn into CJ Stroud seems like a reach.
All right. So again, there's nothing going on this week in the NFL. And so Bob and I decided that we're going to recap a mock draft for you guys. And there was a mock draft that was held over at SiriusXM. Bob, were you in this mock draft or no?
I was.
Which team are you?
I'm team 8, I believe. It's Jacob's team. Our program director had to have a team. So
all right,
I drafted Breece Hall.
Okay. Because I'm looking and I don't see Bob Harris anywhere.
Yeah, I'm team 8.
So let's go through like the first 5 rounds, say, and we'll see how we're doing on time. But the first round was really, there was maybe a couple of picks there. Christian McCaffrey went first, and that's going to be the consensus. And that's why I hope I don't get the first pick in any of my leagues, because the last 4 years, the number 1 pick has gotten hurt. So I'm a little scared. Not going to lie.
Everyone gets hurt. Why do you do that to yourself?
What do you mean everybody gets hurt? Not everyone gets hurt. What are you talking about?
So, let's just look at that first round of players. How many of those players have missed games due to injury, Fabs? How many of them can't you draft? You can't draft McCaffrey. You can't draft Jefferson. You can't draft Chase. Okay. You can't draft Tyreek Hill. You can't draft A.J. Brown.
Getting injured and getting injured long-term are 2 different things. 4 years ago, McCaffrey got hurt and missed more than half the season. He was the number 1 pick again. I think he played 3 games. Then the following year, it was John Taylor, also known as Jonathan Taylor, and he got hurt and missed several games. And then this past season, it was Justin Jefferson, and he missed like half the season.
And my point is, anyone can get hurt. Are they the only guys that got hurt, Fabs? Are they the only guys that got hurt? Are they the only guys that missed significant time? You're connecting unconnected dots, and it's not a service to your audience.
Get drafted first overall. I'm just saying, it's just a fact.
Listen,
I don't want your blood pressure to get too high, all right? Jeez Louise, Harris. But what I'm saying is that's a fact. You can't argue the fact, and that's the fact, Jack. So anyways, the next 4 picks are, once again, to me, not surprising, although I think someone's missing out of this next 4. Jefferson goes 2, totally get it.
Yep.
Chase goes 3, and really, when you look at the 4 wide receivers or 5 wide receivers after Jefferson, it's kind of a what you individually like.
Personal preference.
Right. So Jeff Mans liked Jamar Chase. I would have taken CeeDee Lamb. In fact, I did take CeeDee Lamb with the 4th
I might have taken Tyreek Hill.
Right. And right, exactly. Then Tyreek went after me. So I would have gone Jefferson, CD, Tyreek, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and then Jamar Chase. Yep. But Amon-Ra St. Brown didn't go until, I believe, 9th overall.
Yep. And I had a hard decision at 8 was between what I consider to be one of the few high volume or anticipated high volume backs with huge big playability, or Amon-Ra St. Brown, who I consider super steady. My belief was Keenan Allen would make it back to me in the next round, but Mike Dempsey had other thoughts.
So I was surprised that Jeff Ratcliffe took A.J. Brown where he did when Amon-Ra was available. But I mean, listen, Amon-Ra is phenomenal. A.J. was phenomenal for the first half, and then I don't know what happened in the second half. We can discuss that all we want. Probably we'll never know. So the first running back not named Christian McCaffrey to come off the board, Bijan Robinson, who came off the board at 6th overall. Do you have Bijan as your number 2 back right now, or do you have Breece Hall, who you drafted, as your number 2?
I have Breece Hall as my number 2 back right now. And the big playability, I mean, despite not getting as robust a workload as I would expect this year, he still was 3rd in the league in yards after contact. That's his superpower, right? The big play. If he gets the volume that I anticipate, he will make big plays. So I do have him ahead of Bijan. I probably have other players ahead of Bijan as well. There's a little uncertainty, for all these guys as we look at that first round. I mean, you could say, are we sure Justin Jefferson's going to have the quarterback that can fuel his fires?
Right.
You know,
Yeah. There's a lot of speculation in a
right.
mock draft this early. Yeah.
Exactly. I think that's my point. So I'm with you. Any of those receivers, I'm surprised AJ Brown would have had Amon-Ra St. Brown, and I felt like I had a hard decision at 8 between Hall and Amon-Ra St. Brown. But being as he was my running back 2, I could have, and I didn't think my running back 3, Kyron Williams, would make it back to me, and I thought maybe Keenan Allen would. You're trying to play a little bit of 3D chess here. You're trying to think a round or 2 ahead how things are going to play out. And here's the big takeaway from every draft you should be in. Know the room, right? Fabs and I are playing in leagues with a lot of people who pay close attention to these things. Nobody's slipping. Nobody is getting past anybody. I mean, we'll talk about it later in the draft. I was really hoping to get Anthony Richardson, a little after the main quarterback run, and Howard Bender kind of snagged him the round before I was going to grab him at the turn the round before. So I slow rolled quarterback after that. But I mean, know the room, know who you're drafting with, and have a good understanding of how up to speed they are and how close attention they're paying to developments, and thinking ahead, right? Like to some of these situations where maybe there's a little uncertainty. I feel like in this draft, Fabs, I played like I pretended I knew for certain what I'm just guessing at this point, right? And I think that's kind of the good approach when you're drafting in January. Obviously, we don't have all the answers. So you kind of project in your head how you think things are going to play out and go with that.
Kyron Williams went 3rd to last in the first round. I'd project him more as like a 2nd round pick, but not far behind where he was picked. Listen, I love the numbers. I'm a little worried about the durability, but certainly going to be a 1st round pick in a lot of leagues. Jamar Gibbs also went at the end of the 1st round. And then I think the pick that was the most head scratching to me was Garrett Wilson going at the end of the 1st round. I think that's too high. There are better options out there. I know Aaron Rodgers is coming back, but Aaron Rodgers will have not played for a full year, coming off an Achilles at 40. So I don't know if I like Garrett Wilson. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know if I like him as a 1st round pick. The 2nd round starter, the Puka Nacua, who, no argument there after his rookie campaign and the continued deterioration, I believe, of Cooper Kupp in terms of his value and maybe his durability. Jonathan Taylor, 2nd off the board in round 2. You mentioned Keenan Allen. He was 3rd off the board. Travis Etienne, who was, one of the top 3 running backs and the 2nd best running back in fantasy football during the fantasy season, which ends, of course, in week 17. He went behind Kyron, Taylor, Gibbs. Do you feel like that was a bit of a bargain there or not?
Probably not. I mean, I think that's why he's going that late. I feel like most people don't see the Jaguars as being as all in on him as they had to be. We thought Tank Bigsby was going to be a thing when we were drafting, last year heading into the season, and we heard glowing reports. They'd like another component there. Maybe they will try again to limit him. But I think in the end, he may end up being a value if he gets the same kind of volume he got last year. I think that's the question. Do you believe he's going to get that volume? I think all the guys that went ahead of him, I feel a little more comfortable with the volume other than Jahmyr Gibbs, who is going to share. But remember, I think after David Montgomery came back from his injury down the stretch, what was Gibbs, like running back 4, and Montgomery was running back 10 or 11 over the course of like the first 5 or 6 games he came back from injury. So, I mean, I get Gibbs. I'm a huge Gibbs fan. I think I probably would have preferred maybe Taylor ahead of him.
Right.
For sure.
No, I get it. I get it. I actually like maybe Etienne a little bit more than Kyron Williams, to be honest with you, because I'm just worried about the durability with Kyron, but I mean, he was fantastic. But I mean, really, you're splitting hairs there. DJ Moore next off the board. And then Deebo Samuel. That one also was a little bit, whoa, there were several wide receivers that I would have taken ahead of Deebo Samuel there. And I know on a points per game average, he was very good. He was in the top 15 among wide receivers, but he's got to contend with Brandon Ayuk. He's got to contend with George Kittle.
Right.
He's really had that only one big season in his career. And I kind of think that's what he is. Did you think Deebo going at that spot in round 2 or any spot in round 2 was a little too high?
I feel like that's kind of a personal distinction. There are games where you could expect him to have more. I'm more into Ayuk. I got him a round and a pick later. So I feel like I kind of got the value there. We'll see if Samuel returns. I tend to agree with you on that one.
Diggs went next. I don't know what to think of Stephon Diggs because the second half of the year, he was non-existent. He was barely startable. And you started him because you were hoping that he would come back to the first half form, and he never did. And who knows if he's going to be in Buffalo, right? I mean, I know Vegas thinks he might end up in Dallas.
I think he will be. I think he'll be in Buffalo, and we may look back on the second half of this season, or the second 2/3, or the latter 2/3 of this season as a blip on his career radar. I mean, that's entirely within the range of possible outcomes. That said, you can see who the players who went ahead of him, Samuel notwithstanding. I might have taken some of the guys that went after him ahead of him as well. I don't have a lot of faith in it, but there is a universe in which Stephon Diggs returns to being Stephon Diggs. Joe Brady's return as offensive coordinator, though, a move that was announced, makes you think that maybe we'll continue to see a more running back focused approach there, and maybe that was part of his issues.
Chris Olave went next. I was able to get Michael Pittman. Giddy up. I'll take that all day long. Devon Achane goes next, third to last in the second round. Nico Collins, who you got to like after a breakout year. And then Cooper Kupp went in with the last pick of round 2. And to be quite honest with you, there's some wide receivers that I'd rather have taken ahead of Cooper Kupp. I think Cooper Kupp is trending in the wrong direction. Even when he played this past season, he had some stink bombs. He had a stretch of games where he was putting up single digits. I just think it's done for Cooper Kupp, unfortunately, in terms of being a fantasy superstar. Round 3 starts with Isaiah Pacheco and Saquon Barkley. And then, I had Marvin Harrison Jr. queued up, and then Jeff Manns grabbed them from me. So I ended up taking Mike Evans. Is Marvin Harrison Jr. as a 3rd round pick, regardless of where he goes? And right now I'm hoping it's Arizona. Is that going to be ballpark for where he'll go in redrafts?
I think that will be ballpark where he goes in redraft. It may be a little later in some leagues. It maybe depends, but in a league of sharp players, I think you're going to see the rookie receivers. Push up a little bit higher than we've seen in the past.
I'm going to be trying to get him everywhere. I love him, dude. I mean, dude's a bigger version of his old man. That's going to be a lot of fun if he lands with the right team. If the Patriots decide to draft him, I'm like, oh, no. But maybe not immediate gratification. I think many teams, we will get immediate gratification. As I mentioned, Mike Evans was my 3rd pick.
So I would have liked him to make it back to me.
Yeah, no. Honestly, I would have taken Mike Evans over probably Cooper Kupp and
right.
Maybe Nico Collins.
Yep.
And then Rachaad White goes with the 5th pick in round 3, which is probably about ballpark. Although, what's the Buccaneers offense going to look like next season, right? Dave Canales is gone. Baker Mayfield might be gone.
Yeah.
Mike Evans might be gone. So
yeah, I think the desire there is to keep the band together. I know Mike Evans would like to continue playing there. I think Baker, that's where he'll get the best deal. But with a new coordinator, that kind of changes, at least, adds a layer of difficulty to divining the outcomes.
Jalen Waddle goes next at 3-6. Devontae Adams. I want your thoughts on Devontae Adams. He goes 3-7 to our pal Jeff Ratcliffe. Jeff started 3 wide receivers also. In fact, he took a 4th in round 4. Adams was still like a top 12 fantasy wide receiver, but we started to see cracks in the armor. We don't know who the quarterback's going to be in Las Vegas. Hell, it might be Russell Wilson. We don't know. Adams, I think, feels right in the 3rd round, though, right?
I probably would have taken him slightly ahead of Brandon Ayuk. There would have been the ideal for me. I was hoping he would fall to me. He did not. I'm fine taking Ayuk where I took him, but would have much preferred Devontae Adams.
Brandon Ayuk goes to Bob Harris, the great one, in the 3rd round at the 8th pick in that round. And then Nick Chubb. What are your thoughts on Nick Chubb?
That's a little aggressive to me. Right. I don't feel like we have enough information. It's a bad injury. We know he's going to come back. So, I think probably you could have got a better price on him. Kendall Valenzuela being a little aggressive on that one. But, if he comes back to full speed at some point in the season, she's going to have a hell of a player. I mean, if that's one of those players that comes on down the stretch, we've seen this movie before. I thought Breece Hall came back nicely from his injury last year. Mm-hmm. Javonte Williams seemed to have its moments, but maybe a little tougher of a slog for him. So we just don't know the outcomes for Chubb.
Right. And then Travis Kelce, first tight end goes. I don't agree with that pick. I'd rather go Laporta. I think Kelce's trending downward. If he even
comes
still
back, tight end 1 in the NFL, and he still plays with Patrick Mahomes. So, I mean, if you're assuming he's going to play, I mean, the numbers for Kelce, and you're not paying a Kelce in price for him. He's been a first-round pick consistently.
To me, I'd rather go with the younger player who's not going to be 35 going into the season, coming off of his worst statistical season in a long time.
That was still tight end 1.
No, he wasn't. He was tight end 2.
Tight end
Laporta
1
was tight end 1 this year. He was usurped. Kelsey was this season. Rashee Rice going
scoring system
in round 3, and then Tony Pollard following up. Pollard is a free agent. We don't know where he's going to end up. Maybe he stays in Dallas. Maybe he doesn't. We're going to find out in the offseason. James Cook goes at the top of round 4. Not surprising there. No qualms about that pick. Then we see DK Metcalf and Devontae Smith come off the board. And then Josh Allen. So the first quarterback comes off the board, Bob, in round 4 with the 4th pick in that round. Last season, we were seeing quarterbacks go second, third round.
Yeah.
And I think this is going to be back to what the trend had been before 2023. No one's taking a quarterback in the top 3 rounds, and people are going to wait.
Yeah, I think certainly a group of industry insiders coming fresh off a season is going to wait. We'll see if that doesn't, like, you know how this is. Like, we start out early in the season and we're remembering all the lessons vividly that we learned from the previous season. And then as we get closer to next year, things tend to shift back a little bit. Like, you'll see, more running backs sneak in, or the quarterbacks may edge up a little bit. Maybe we see the tight ends gain a little value. But I think fresh off the season, the lessons are still vivid in our mind. And I think that's part of the quarterback situation here. I'll be honest, I thought quarterbacks went a little more quickly and a little earlier in general than I expected.
And we'll get into those. Laporta goes to Bob Harris in round 4, and then Tank Dell. I love him.
That was my decision, Fabs. I was deciding between Dell and Laporta.
The issue I have with Tank Dell is he's not a big dude, and he got hurt last year. But that was like a fluke kind of thing, right? Because somebody rolled up on his knee, and so it wasn't a situation where he got injured on a tackle, or that was just a bad luck sort of injury. But I do love him. Jeff Ratcliffe with 4 wide receivers in a row. T. Higgins goes next. He's going to be a free agent. We're not sure where he'll end up. Maybe he stays in Cincy with the franchise tag. Time will tell. Zay Flowers comes off the board next with the 8th pick in round 4. And then I took my first running back with Josh Jacobs. I don't know where he's going to be.
Nope.
Maybe it's Las Vegas. Maybe it's someplace else. I don't know. But he's a young running back who's a year removed from being the rushing leader, and he's in the prime of his career. So I felt good about that. Calvin Ridley goes next, then Amari Cooper, and then Jordan Addison. Jordan Addison was very good when Jefferson was active last season. And he had some good games when Jefferson was not active, but he was better with JJ drawing defenses. So, sure. and again, you mentioned it. Who's the quarterback in Minnesota? I don't know. But bottom line here is that talented guy, maybe he has a second-year breakout.
Then I'm hoping I drafted that quarterback in round 10.
Then getting into round 5, we start with Courtland Sutton, which I think was maybe a little high for Courtland Sutton. Maybe I thought he would go maybe a little bit later on in this round or in round 6, but he had a good year. I don't know who the quarterback is in Denver, and it's not going to be Russell Wilson.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And some of that, the Russell Wilson deep ball was a factor in Sutton's drive. Sutton's a very good player. I feel like this year, the 2023 season was more along the lines of what I've expected from him. So maybe it's a little just a validating season, and I'd like to think he can continue on, but I'm with you. The uncertainty at quarterback is an issue for me as well.
Drake London is next. And I mean, listen, Arthur Smith is no longer there. So let's hope that Zach Robinson actually gets him the football, right? We need to do that. So, and then we've got a little bit of breaking news here from
We've had it for like 10 minutes. I just didn't want to get you all excited.
I didn't see it from Toss. Dan Quinn to Washington. Honestly, I don't care. Like, when the Cowboys defense needed to play well, they did not. So I don't care. Like, I listen, I don't know who the Cowboys will hire, but I don't give a rat's patootie about Dan Quinn leaving. We got smoked by Green Bay. We got smoked by Buffalo. We got smoked by San Francisco. We gave up a ton of points to Seattle. We have talent on the defensive side, and that defense was not dominant when it needed to be. I don't know who he's going to bring in as his offensive coordinator. Obviously, we're going to find that out. But, Bob, the thing that surprises me most is that Bill Belichick will not coach this year, but he will coach the Dallas Cowboys in 2025. You heard it here first.
So dear listener, this is why I didn't bring the Dan Campbell news up when it initially broke, because I knew the diatribe was coming. Now that we've got that out of our system, look, I feel like the Commanders kind of lost out on the guy that they really wanted when Ben Johnson. They were flying to Detroit yesterday to do the final interview, and it sounds like they were ready to go. I think some of the reports of the salary demands he was making were exaggerated, but even if they were, my understanding is that that wouldn't have kept Washington from going after him if that was their selected guy. So not a surprising development at all. And somewhere Micah Parsons is hoping the Cowboys do better.
Yes. Yes. And Jerry Jones, I can go on another diatribe here. I'm not going to do it. Maybe I'll post some.
Go ahead.
No, I'm not going to do it. Well, Jerry Jones comes out and said, well, we're all in this season. Why the flipping hell weren't you all in like in 2023 and 2022? You weren't all in then? Jackass. He just sours me. All right, let's get back to the mock draft here.
Please.
Before I swear by accident. Mark Andrews comes off the board, the third pick in round 5. He is.
I think it's fair price.
The board. Not surprising. I think that could be fair value, but how much do they use Isaiah Likely next season? I don't know. I know you love Mark Andrews, so I get it.
Just eyeball test wise, Mark Andrews, when he's playing in a game and on point, if you're not looking right at Lamar Jackson, the best player on the field is generally Mark Andrews. So I think maybe they'll find. I think Todd Monken came, from the college ranks. He had great career as a professional coordinator, but at Georgia, he ran the most 2 tight end sets in the nation. So in the offense there. So I'm expecting he'll kind of figure out ways to use both of them, and maybe it is a limiting factor, but I think that's kind of baked into the price.
I took Joe Mixon next. Joe Mixon was the RB6 this past season.
Right.
Like people forget that, and I don't know even what maybe the Bengals you're going to go in a different direction. I have no idea, but Mixon's still a good back in the prime of his career. Ken Walker went next, then Aaron Jones. And Aaron Jones, that's all about what he did down the stretch in like the last 4 or 5 games of the season, because other than that, he was terrible. Jalen Hurts, spit it up, Fabiano, was the second quarterback off the board. He goes at 5'7". Then Alvin Kamara to Robert.
The running back 3 from weeks 3 through 17 when it mattered most, or when he was playing. So I had no issues landing him there.
Kamara stick in New Orleans because he's making a lot of money, and I don't know that their cap situation is all that good. We'll find out about that. But yeah, I probably would have gone in the same direction. Jackson Smith and Jigba goes next, and Lamar Jackson goes ahead of Patrick Mahomes as the QB3. And then Malik Neighbors goes, the rookie out of LSU, and then George Kittle rounds out round 5. I've seen some mocks where Neighbors goes to the Chargers, and I would hate that, at least initially, because unless they drop Keenan Allen, I don't know that there's enough footballs to get all of those guys the targets and the production that they want. And then we just saw Quentin Johnson say yesterday that he thinks he's in for a breakout year. Well, hell, dude, what were you waiting for as a rookie? It was not good.
I think Mike Williams in round 8 is going to be the guy. If you look back at the Harbaugh offenses, what do we know? They were run heavy, and they took they were efficient with the big plays. If Mike Williams is healthy, his contract probably keeps him on board, and he might be that guy. So I thought he was a flyer at round 8.
Unless I've missed it, we still don't know who the offensive coordinator is for the Chargers, and maybe it's Greg Roman.
Could be.
And if you look at the 4 years that those guys were in San Francisco together, the best wide receivers they had was like Anquan Bolden and Michael Crabtree, and neither one of them finished better than wide receiver 15. So I think that you're going to add another wide receiver to that offense. Again, we don't know who the OC is yet. So, Bob, before we wrap up here, we're not going to get through the rest of the draft. You can obviously see it right now on your screen. And by the way, the last 3 rounds were auto-picked for me, so don't give me any crap about the garbage that I drafted. You guys know I would never draft Miles Sanders in a million years.
I saw you do it. It was horrible. I felt embarrassed for you.
Keep that in mind. Shut your hole, Harris. It was a glitch in the damn system. Talk about.
So he says.
Yes, it was the rest of your team, Bob.
So Derrick Henry, I think getting running back 12 in round 7. Look,
that's
he's
crazy
old.
Town, dude. That's crazy.
He's old, and but if you watched him play last year, the workload was so much diminished. Had the great breakaway runs, and hopefully he's a Baltimore Raven. Kirk Cousins was the pick. Like, I wish I hadn't picked Jerry Jeudy. I don't have a do not fly list, but if I did, Jerry Jeudy would probably be on it. I have no idea why I made that move. I should have gone with somebody with some upside. But Kirk Cousins was a great pick for me. Just look, I'm making some assumptions here that he's playing back in Minnesota. From the 8 games he played, or 8 games he played, he was quarterback 4 on the year. He plays with Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, and TJ Hawkinson will return at some point. So felt really good about that.
Yeah, so for me, I ended up going with Rome Odunze as my wide receiver 4 in round 6. And then I took Austin Eckler. I don't know if you remember the episode of Cheers, and it's in the 80s, so probably a lot of you don't, where Sam Malone donated his jersey to a charity, and people would call in and bid on these items. No one bid on Sam Malone's jersey. So his friends were bidding on it so he wouldn't feel bad. I love Austin Eckler. He's a friend of mine. I'm actually going to see him this weekend. And he was still there at 7-4. And I'm like, dude, I got to take him. You're telling me that Austin Eckler is going to go from being the best running back in fantasy football for 2 straight years to being a bum? I don't know where he's going to be, but as a flex starter in the 7th round, I don't care. I'm taking him all day long. I took TJ Hawkinson as my tight end, knowing that he's probably not going to start out the season.
Just had the surgery this week.
But before the stupid product would not let me draft, I was going to take Brock Bowers to back him up. I waited on a quarterback. I was going to take Jordan Love. I got blocked from that for some reason or another, but you can see the strategy. I waited on quarterbacks. I drafted Hawkinson, and I would have drafted another tight end to play in his place that's got some upside until he's able to heal from that ACL, which Bob just mentioned he had the surgery on earlier this week. So
I would have taken Bowers in the Judy spot, by the way, had he lasted.
Yeah. And Jake Ferguson was still there too. And by the way, great season by Jake Ferguson. I will be in Las Vegas this weekend. If you are out in Las Vegas and you want to come down to the Las Vegas Convention Center to the NADA conference, I will be there representing SiriusXM, talking fantasy football, and probably taking a few shots at Bob Harris's age. Bob, this weekend, I mean, what are you going to be doing, man? Are you going to be making like kale smoothies? Like what's the plan, buddy?
I don't know. It's the first. I'll be doing a radio show on Saturday, so I'll have some normalcy. But other than that, I don't know what the hell I'll do with myself without any football game.
Yeah, listen, you got to get on your Peloton, do something like that. Read a magazine. I don't know.
I do have some books.
Have some milk of magnesia. Do what old people do. Have a little bit of cream of wheat.
That's the point.
I'm sorry. That's what my grandparents used to have for breakfast. And they were like, you want some cream of wheat? I'm like, hell no, that stuff looks terrible.
I love cream of wheat. I haven't had it in many years.
God, it's like porridge. It's like porridge from like oh no, I don't. Yeah. Unless you pour a lot of brown sugar on there, I'm out. Toss, what you got going on this weekend, man? Your belt might be coming in soon. I'm telling you right now, the Trophy Smack belts are kick-ass. And I want you to videotape yourself walking through your local mall with that belt around your waist.
Okay.
I want to see it.
Yeah, I'll head to the Westfield Culver City Mall and I'll walk around.
I used to get. Yes, wait, hold on. I got a belt. Hang on.
Here we go. It's always the same with him. He's got a belt. He's got a helmet. He's got a rant against the Cowboys.
No, look at this belt. Oh, look at this. This is gorgeous. Look at this. It's beautiful. Beautiful craftsmanship. This is the belt for the league that I've won now in 2 straight years with Adam Wainwright, Kyle Gibson, all of my baseball buddies. We call it the best league ever. And see, look at this. Look at the crowd. Look at what Trophy Smack does. They're just phenomenal. So yeah, I got this bad boy. Got another one over there. I'm waiting for my Flex League title belt.
I have one of those. You want to see it?
I know from Big Feely. Yeah, I gotta text him. I'm like, where's my belt, dude? So yeah, that's about it. Right. That's about it. Bob Harris, enjoy your weekend. I will be calling you from Las Vegas and bothering you constantly. Toss, you have a great weekend yourself. When you get that belt, I want pictures. I want video. I want to see it because that belt is badass looking, man. It looks really, really good.
I worked hard for that belt. I worked really hard for it.
You got lucky, but
there you go. See how he does, Toss?
You got a little lucky. You got a little lucky. You had a 56 points from Amari Cooper against me. You got a little lucky, but hey, you won. No, listen, you won. You're the champ.
Yeah, he does that.
No, I know. I
would say it too. If it were me, I'd say yes. I got lucky. I admit it.
Rather be lucky than good.
Champ. I'll take you out next season. Anyways, thanks for listening to the Believe Fantasy Football Show presented by Bet Online. For the great one, not Dwayne Johnson, Bob Harris is the original great one. I am Fabs for Toss behind the virtual glass. Have a great weekend, everybody.